Hello and welcome to another Demon212 Wii U review. Today I'm going to be taking a look at Mario Kart 8, which if you've never played it before, it's basically a Mario Kart game. It's a racer, it's very self-explanatory. It's something that, while every single Mario Kart is different to the last, it's something Nintendo has yet to actually do two games in a row that play identically. It's the formula of you race around, you get items, you hit them into people and you try and come first. That part's always been the norm, really. At the start, you've got single player, you can go multiplayer, you can play online by yourself with a load of other people, or you can play two-player on the same console with a load of other people. And then there's Mario Kart TV, which is just... it's one of those things that I've never understood about any game, how there's like a suite where you can go and watch people playing the game and like watch clips of it, and I'm just thinking, you played the game surely to... well, sorry, you bought the game surely to play the game, not to watch people play the game. It's different when you're watching a review, you might be trying to get information, although that being said, there are a few people who watch my vids who have beaten the game 150 times before and then I think just come on purely to criticise, which, at the end of the day, it's a free world, I suppose. So, going into one player, you've got quite a few things you can do. You can play Grand Prix, which one of the cool things you can do this time is actually play Grand Prix with 4 people locally and unlock stuff that way, and it's something that Mario Kart's always needed, and I don't know if they kind of added it on Mario Kart 7, and I honestly can't remember on Mario Kart Wii, but it's always something that I like to mention when games have the ability to play 4-player and still progress through it, you know. So if it had it on the past 2, because I hated Wii and like never played it, and 7, it's obviously a handheld game, so it's something that I never really got to play much with a load of people, and when we did, we just stuck to what we liked doing. Time trials are very self-explanatory. Versus races, just where you customise your settings and that, and I'll probably show that and battle off, but I'm actually going to start with battle because loads of people absolutely slate battle, and it's one of those, I think it's a lose-lose battle with battle mode, really. As you might have noticed, it is the same sort of system as Mario Kart 7 where you get the customised options and that, and they do have different stats, and I've personally never liked this part of races and that, where you're trying to play competitively online and all, or even if you're not, you're just trying to play with your friends. It's something that I always prefer in Mario Kart games, just you're all playing as the same kart and then you're letting your actual skill, and to be fair, in terms of items, luck, do the talking, you know, rather than having to constantly go up against people who might have things unlocked that you haven't, that might be a significant boost, kind of like Mario Tennis with the Mii character gears, you know. Anyway though, on battle mode you can choose to go teams or no teams, you can choose different sort of item setups, you can choose different round lengths, you can choose the computers and things like that, so I'm just going to stick to default for now. And you go on to one of the choices, and anyone who's played other Mario Kart games might immediately notice that these aren't battle stages, these are old racing tracks. And loads of people kept telling me, before I even got the game, that because there was a huge problem with our online retailer that we ordered from, and we eventually got it like a week late. It was rather annoying. Bank holiday didn't help either. But loads of people who had it just kept saying, oh, it's a race mode with balloons. While it is kind of like that, it's not at all. A race mode with balloons would say to me that you are racing and you've got balloons. It's not. You're driving around on a race track with a time limit with balloons, and the whole progress of it, the whole point of it is you start with 3 balloons, which means you start with 3 points, and every time you hit someone you get a point, and every time you get hit you lose a point, and you also lose a balloon, and once you've lost 3 balloons, that's it, the round's over for you, and it moves on to the next one, because it just kind of automatically, well, calculates what the computer would have got, so that way you're not sitting watching the computers. It's, for example, it's like what happened to me at the start here. If you get absolutely hammered right at the start, then you're not waiting 3 minutes to watch other people play. You can steal balloons from people by doing certain things. You can also kill yourself, which I've just managed to perfectly do there. I honestly meant that, honest. And it's just one of those. It is battle mode, but you're on race tracks, and it's at the same time not battle mode, because the whole point of battle mode was, it used to be that pretty much last man standing, you know, whoever had the balloons won. Now it's worked on an aggregate point system, and it's honestly, it's one of those, it's actually, I think, a decent evolution of battle mode. The problem is, there were so many fans of the original battle mode that they'd have actually been better off doing both You know, if they just put, even if they'd done something like 4 stages on each, so that you got 8 total, then it's the sort of thing that they could have catered to everyone by still including classic battle mode. And I still don't think it's anywhere near as bad as battle mode on Mario Kart Wii, which I really hated. So that's pretty much all I can really say about battle mode, that I personally like it, and I think there's a lot of people out there who only really hate it because it's different, and you can never please everyone, and it's the sort of thing that, had Nintendo been smart about Mario Kart and actually included the option for DLC, I think they could have fixed it. And it's the sort of thing that, while there is supposedly DLC in the works, we don't know in what capacity, we don't know if it's going to add modes, we don't know anything at all, other than that at the moment it's some sort of sponsorship deal in Japan with a car manufacturer, and I can't even remember which one. So it's the sort of thing that I'm hoping at E3 they turn around and they say, right, listen, you're going to get the old battle mode, you're going to be able to buy courses, you're going to be able to buy cups of old tracks, you're going to be able to buy, you know, just this, that and the other. It's the sort of thing that, as long as they don't do it overpriced, and as long as they don't essentially turn it into a microtransaction thing of you buy the best parts to create the best crafts and best bikes and things, you know, then it should in principle work. I would absolutely love it if Mario Kart 9 just came with 20 standard tracks, and then they said, right, we'll charge you $5 for every game. So pay a $5, you get all the tracks from Mario Kart Wii, pay a $5, you get all the tracks from Mario Kart DS. You know, it would just be absolutely awesome, and it would also mean that no tracks would go unplayed, essentially, because the amount of times I have been waiting for certain tracks in the retro tracks of this game, like for example Bowser's Castle GameCube, and now Bowser's Castle NDS is long overdue for a reappearance as well, then it's just the sort of thing that there's other people out there who have other tracks, and the amount of times when we just look at them and going, oh, that's been snubbed yet again, in favour of, really? Those tracks? They're just, you know, they'd be able to fix it, they'd be able to do so much with DLC, but the problem is, the DLC structure in the whole world of gaming is totally out of whack, and loads of people immediately hate on it and refuse to buy any game with it, thanks to the major publishers who absolutely abuse it and do Day 1 built-in unlocks for stupidly high money, instead of doing what the likes of Gearbox do with the Borderlands games, where they charge you very little money for massive content updates, you know? That's the way DLC should work. And I think Nintendo could strike a blow, especially in the racing game world, because Forza, which I've got on the Xbox One, I cannot believe the cost of just a few cars, you know? So it's the sort of thing that I'd love to see them do it, and they'd add a load of stuff to that. Back to actually talking about the game at hand, and not just the things that I'd absolutely love to see be confirmed for E3 for the DLC. As you might have guessed, it is the standard formula of 32 tracks. You get a cup, you go through it, you win the cup, and then you get rewards. And that is basically it in a nutshell. By beating a cup and coming first, then you get a random unlock of a character. The roster, there's been a lot of controversy about, in more ways than one. Personally, it's a Mario game. I think they've kind of included a lot of people that they shouldn't have, at the same time that they've included people that they should have. And it's just... it's one of those things that, again, you're never going to please everyone, but I think it's probably the most diverse roster we've had in a long time, but there's a load of people absolutely complaining about the baby characters, and I don't really understand why, because it's not as if they're not in an important franchise or anything, you know, like the Mario and Luigi RPGs. And then there's people complaining about the Koopa kids and saying, oh, well, it's really like 7 reskins, you know. And it's just like, well, at the same time, people have been playing Mario since the NES, who grew up on the SNES games where they were introduced, and now they're being repopularized again on the Wii games. It's nice to actually finally see them get some recognition. I absolutely have always loved certain Koopa kids from certain bosses in the cartoons and things, and it's nice to finally see them getting appreciated, you know, in the form of Nintendo actually showing them. And it's just, again, it's just mentalness really. And Mario Kart itself has become more of a franchise, and I think we're actually getting to the point where they need to do Smash Kart, because of the likes of stages like this where you're playing on a Donkey Kong stage and there's actually Donkey Kong characters in the game. I really do think they should probably just go all out next time, and instead of doing Mario Kart 9, miss one out and do a Smash Kart. It kind of feels like the logical progression. At the same time, when they do Mario Kart 9, I know fine well what me and a load of people would like is the return of Double Dash, essentially. I would absolutely love to see Double Dash 2. And you could even do it on the 3DS where it's 8-player, and therefore it will be 4-player with 2 people in each kart, and you can still then have the races populated by computers playing with 2 to a kart, and it would make it a much more multiplayer game, because that's one of the biggest problems with this. I at least thought with Mario Kart 8 it will be 5-player because of the gamepad, because of Sonic Racing Transformed and Nintendo Land and other great 5-player games, and instead the gamepad is one of the most underutilized things, not just on this game but on the whole of the Wii U at the moment. Nintendo seem to be doing everything they can to pretty much ignore it, kind of like Microsoft are now doing with the Kinect, you know. And it really does feel like a slap in the face to people who've had the console since launch, who were promised all these wonderful things, and then it's just not happening. I mean, when I did the Donkey Kong review, I might as well mention it saying as I'm on a Donkey Kong track, I did mention how the gamepad doesn't even do anything on that. It's just a blank screen the entire time, so it's like, what's the point? And on this, you don't even get a full screen to yourself on one player. I've not found any way to do so, and if there is a way to do so, I would love someone to tell me, because you actually get the same view as the TV, which means even if you're in a living room or something like that where there was an awkward angle, before, someone could play on the gamepad, no bother, and get a full screen to themselves, and now they actually just see the 4-player split screen, so it means you've essentially got a 2-inch screen, and you might as well play on the 3DS, you know? It's just absolutely insane how underutilized the gamepad is in a game like Mario Kart. They could have done so much with it, and even if they were just simply done, as I say, adding the 5th character, it would have been great. It's why one of my only real complaints about the game is that, because the actual gameplay itself and the formula and the system works great. The bikes make a return, and I was dreading that because I absolutely detested them. I think the bikes on this one play far superior to anything else, and that's the only problem I've got with the bikes, that it does seem like if you're in a kart you're going to be outclassed, and that was the same on Mario Kart Wii. So it seems like they should probably do a patch to balance it a bit, but at the same time the bikes actually finally play really well for me. I think that the handling on them is great, and everything about them I like. It's just, it does almost seem like there should be a way to either play where you're all on bikes or where you're all in karts, because playing bikes versus kart is essentially like playing a PC game, mouse and keyboard versus pad, you know. The people on the pad are a severe disadvantage, and I honestly feel that if you're in a kart, you are in a bit of a disadvantage compared to the bikes on this. Graphically, the game is astonishing. It's the game that we all knew that Nintendo would eventually deliver in terms of graphics on the game. Yeah, it's not going to be as deep and advanced as games like Watch Dogs, but at the same time, I think this is the first time they've shown that the Wii U can do some stellar, top-notch, out-of-this-world graphics. And for a kart racer, I've never seen a better one on any platform over any development team. It's just absolutely fantastic. I'd also say that musically it sounds great. Pretty much everything you expect from a Mario Kart game, and the sound effects are nice and clear and they work well. And then there's the actual track's music, they just play great and listen great, and it's just... They have done an awful lot of this to make it one of the best Mario Kart games in recent times, and considering I was really dreading it because all I kept thinking is the last time they did a kart game on a console, I hated it. The fact that I played this for a good couple hours and thought, yeah, actually this is really good, I'm actually getting into it, is a huge relief, essentially. There's then, as you might have already seen, there's different abilities in this and different things, but they don't really change much about it. It's the same as Mario Kart 7. You can drive underwater, you can fly through the sky. Now you can go upside down in basically zero-G style modes, and your kart like magnetizes itself to the track or the bike or whatever you're driving in. And it's one of them, it doesn't really change anything at all. When you're driving on walls, it doesn't really feel different at all. It doesn't feel like the handling or anything's changed. It's just, I think, purely a graphical effect to show off, hey, look at how great this is. But if I'm completely honest, I would rather see a different game that makes use of those features. And funnily enough, it also happens to be a racing game, kind of like designed around great graphics and rock hard gameplay, awesome music. In case you haven't worked out, I'm basically saying, why the hell is Mario Kart trying to be F-Zero when we could just have an F-Zero game? it's getting to the point where they're running out of so many things to do with Mario Kart. They've ignored F-Zero for so long, saying that there's nothing new they could do. I'm starting to think, will we even get a Mario Kart now? You know, what happens when Nintendo eventually reach the point where they decide, well, we can't do anything new with Zelda, we can't do anything new with Mario, which, quite frankly, have they really done anything new with Mario in the past 10 years? The closest they've came is to finally making a 3D Mario that plays like a 2D Mario, and that's about all I can really think of in terms of that series' advancement. So what happens when they get to the point where they think we can't do anything with any of our franchises? It's not as if they're churning out new ones every week, you know. So it does worry me that games like this may soon not exist. Item-wise, I might as well mention it, seeing as the blue shell just hit me. The blue shell itself has completely changed, and I'm glad it's finally gone back to the way the blue shell used to be, where it hits people on the way, and it still has the explosion, which kind of works, but at the same time it can now finally be countered, and the original blue shell could be countered with skill of driving. On this, it's a case of the blue shell can be countered by an item, which is like a horn blast, and it sends out a shockwave. And it's just the things that they've done with it that finally feel like it's been tweaked and balanced better. Even having the extra races on the track, there's 12 like on Mario Kart Wii, it doesn't actually make a difference anymore. With Mario Kart Wii, there was so many power items going off, it would be practically unplayable, because you'd have a 10-second bout of where you could actually race, and then everything else was blooper, power block, lightning, lightning, power block, blooper, blue shell, red shell, and it just got to the point that you couldn't even drive on the game. This, I was really worried it was going to be the same because it was 12 races, and instead, I've never really had that happen. The closest I've seen to it was actually my brother on his very first race on the game. Right going into the final corner, I think it was something like red shell, green shell, lightning. It was insane. He just got pummeled, and I'd already finished the race, so it's almost as if it got to the point where the computer thought, well, someone's going to get hit by these things. And even then, that's happened once so far. So, whereas on Mario Kart Wii, I think it only happened once where it didn't happen, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I don't really know if there's anything else I can warble on about. As I keep saying in a lot of vids these days, ever since the time limit was removed on YouTube, you can always tell if I actually like and enjoy a game, because I will talk and talk and talk about it, mainly because I A, like talking about games, and B, like trying to help people with as much information as possible. And at the end of the day, while that's great for some, I know it's not good for others, so I apologise if I've talked your ear off. But if you were hesitant at all about getting this game because of memories of other Mario Karts, I definitely think it's worth picking up, especially seeing as you get a free game with it at the moment, which, granted, for Europe, we're actually getting the better deal for once, because we've got an option of 10, whereas America has the option of 4. And granted, at the same time, there's actually very little out for the Wii U that most people won't have already played. So, in all honesty, what I know a lot of people have done, they've either got the game that was worth the most money and got rid of their disc copy, or they've just given it away to someone who they know has just got a brand new Wii U. So, it would have been nice to maybe have an option of getting, even if it was just like a couple of downloads that hadn't came out yet, you know, for the people who've had the Wii since launch, who've kind of been actually supporting it and buying the games. But who can really complain about a 3 game? We still got an option, and it's a hell of a lot better than the majority of other games and companies out there. Nintendo at the moment are one of the most generous devs around, because even Microsoft and Sony with their 3 games a month, you're still paying for a premium service that gets you those games, whereas at least with Nintendo it's usually a case of, well, if you were going to buy the games anyway, we'll reward you by giving you a free game. And again, I can't complain at that mentality. It's just absolutely awesome, and I would love to see it continue, because it really does feel almost a bit like fan service, like they're going, right, we're going to reward people for buying our stuff, rather than making you feel like, well, you've given us the money, so screw you, you know. It's a refreshing change of attitude, and it's one that I'm loving. So there we go then, that's been the review. I hope you found it helpful. I don't score the games because that's based purely on opinion, so instead I'll leave you to make your own mind up. So thanks for watching, and if you've got any questions about the game that I didn't answer in the vid, or that hasn't been answered in the comments, then feel free to ask and I'll help if I can. Also, if you did find it helpful, don't forget to check out my channel, because there's plenty more like this up there, and don't forget to subscribe, because there'll be plenty more to come as well. So until next time, this has been Demon212, signing off.